Hey, Margie here. Welcome to the Wake Up, Pray Up, Boss Up podcast, the show that helps Christian moms prioritize their physical and mental health so they can boldly step into God's calling. I'm your host, Margie Ruiz. Hey, Margie here. How are you? Welcome back to the Wake Up, Pray Up, Boss Up podcast. I hope you're doing well as we dive into December. Can you freaking believe it? It's December. This is a month that's always a little crazy, right? Between holiday prep, family gatherings, work deadlines, and all the other things we juggle. It can feel like there's no time left for ourselves. But December isn't just the end of the year. It's an opportunity to reflect. Let me ask you, are you happy with what you accomplished this year? Did you focus on the things that truly mattered? Or looking back, can you see moments when busyness stole your time and energy? Take a moment to look back at anything you said yes to that maybe you didn't need to. What could you have said no to in order to make room for what truly matters? This reflection is so important because saying no to things that don't move the needle in your life allows you to focus on what does. Any yes is a no to something else. And here's a question to get real with. Are you making God wait on His calling for you because you're too busy with things He never asked you to do? To help with this, it's crucial to get clear on your values. If you haven't listened to episode 3 yet, where we talk all about discovering your values, I highly recommend you checking it out. I'll link it below so you can easily find it. It's such a game changer for making decisions that align with what truly matters. Let's start with this. You have to be clear on your values. If you know what you stand for and what's most important to you, saying no becomes so much easier. It's not about being selfish. It's about protecting the time and energy God has given you. In Matthew 5:37, Jesus says, "Let your yes mean yes and your no mean no." This verse reminds us that our decisions should be clear and intentional. If something doesn't align with your values, it should be a no, period. For example, if faith, family, and health are your top priorities, but you're being voluntold to take on a project that pulls you away from those, it's okay to decline. It's not a rejection of others, it's an affirmation of what matters most to you. And here's a tip. Write down your top 3 values somewhere you can see them daily. When you're clear on your values, decision-making becomes less about guilt and more about alignment. What if 2025 is a year you finally committed to prioritizing your physical and mental health and boldly step into God's calling? What could that look like? Why is saying no so hard? For many people, it's guilt. We don't want to let people down, and we feel responsible for making everyone happy. Or maybe it's FOMO, fear of missing out. Guilty. We worry that if we don't say yes, we'll miss an amazing opportunity or upset someone we care about. But let me share this quote from Brené Brown. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. Saying no isn't about rejection. It's about self-respect. It's about recognizing your limits and honoring the commitments that align with your purpose. And here's a hard truth. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't matter, you're saying no to something that does. What are you saying no to that might be part of God's plan for your life? Are you keeping God waiting on His calling because you're too busy with distractions? Let's break this down into 3 practical steps for saying no with grace and confidence without guilt or fear of missing out. Number 1, be polite but firm. When you say no, be kind but clear. You don't have to over-explain or apologize. Something like, "Thank you so much for thinking of me, but I have to pass this time," works perfectly, and it's enough. It's polite and leaves no room for confusion. Here's another example. If someone invites you to a holiday gathering and you're already stretched thin, you could say, "Oh, I'd love to join, but I have another commitment right now. I hope y'all have a great time." Tip 2, use your values as a filter. Remember episode 3? Your values are your guide. If an invitation or opportunity doesn't align with what matters most, let it be an automatic no. For example, if family time is your priority, but someone asks you to work late or take on a big volunteer role that would take you away from your family more than you would like, you can politely decline by saying, I've committed this time to my family, and I want to honor that. Your values make this decision for you. No guilt required. Last week, my son decided to get married at our house. Yeah, originally, it was supposed to be a courthouse wedding followed by lunch, but it quickly turned into a beautiful backyard ceremony planned in just 7 days. It was crazy and magical, but let me tell you, during those 7 days, my life revolved around tearing the house apart, transforming it into a wedding venue, and then putting it all back together. Here's the thing. Family is one of my top values, so helping my son with his wedding was a no-brainer. But that meant everything else had to wait. I didn't have time for much last week except recording a podcast and making the wedding happen. And you know what? That's okay. This experience reminded me of something important. A balanced life isn't about giving everything equal attention all the time. It's about knowing your priorities and adjusting accordingly. When you're working on something big, other things might take a back seat for a while. And that's perfectly fine as long as you don't get stuck there. I didn't go to the gym as much as I usually do last week, so I need to get back on the schedule this week. Otherwise, I'll look up in a week, a month, a year, and my health will be shot. It's easy to let time slip by, especially in a month like December. Tip 3, practice saying no. Saying no gets easier with practice. Start with smaller things like declining an extra responsibility at work or turning down a last-minute invite. The more you do it, the more confident you'll feel. And remember, every no is a yes to something that truly matters. Here's a verse to keep in mind. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." Trust that when you say no to something that doesn't align, you're saying yes to God's plan for you. Let's tackle guilt and FOMO a bit more. Guilt sneaks in when we worry about disappointing others. But here's the truth. You can't pour from an empty cup. When you say no to things that drain you, you're actually saying yes to showing up fully for the people and priorities that matter most. And FOMO, it's real. My biggest challenge, but it's also a trap. Instead of worrying about what you're missing out on, focus on what you're gaining by honoring your values. Trust that God's plan for your life is unfolding perfectly. You're not missing out. You're making room for what truly matters. A friend once told me to change FOMO to JOMO, the joy of missing out. As we wrap up, I want to encourage you to take a moment today to reflect on your values. How can you use them as a filter for saying yes or no this season? If you need help figuring out your values, go back and listen to episode 3. I'll link it in the show notes. Remember, God's plan for your life doesn't wait forever. There's no one on the sidelines waiting to take over. If you don't step up, it just goes undone. And who knows what ripple effect that might cause. We are the body of Christ and we all play a part. Are you playing yours? It's time to say no to distractions and yes to His purpose. And speaking of making time for what matters, I am so excited to share something I've been working on. On January 10th, mark it down, January 10th, I'm launching a coaching membership designed just for you. It's a space where we'll dive deeper into topics like prioritizing your physical health, your mental health, aligning your life with your values, and stepping boldly into God's calling. If today's episode resonated with you, this membership is going to be a game changer. Stay tuned for more details. I'll be sharing everything you need to know in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe to the Wake Up, Pray Up, Boss Up podcast. Next week is my birthday. Ooh, ooh. Celebrate with me as we dive into the importance of celebrating. Until next time, don't forget to wake up, pray up, and boss up every day. God bless. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, if you enjoyed the episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media. Shout it from the rooftops. Leave a rating and a review. All the things. And to catch the latest from me, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at margie.gp6 or go to my website at margieruiz.com and make sure to sign up for my weekly newsletter. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Bye.